Welcome to Textile Chemical Processing. Myself, M. Gopalakrishnan, Assistant Professor, Department of Textile Technology. Today's topic is reactive dyes. Reactive dyes is very important class of dyes for cellulosic fibers, especially for cotton fabrics. Around 90% of fabrics, cotton fabrics, are dyed with with reactive dyes due to its fastness properties, excellent fastness properties, and easy to apply, and it is cheap than wet dyeing. There are so many class of reactive dyes are available in the market. So it is classified under first generation, second generation, and third generation reactive dyes. In first generation reactive dyes, the reactive group is dichlorotriazine and aminochlorotriazine, aminofluorotriazine, trichloropyridine, chlorofluoropyridine, sulfatoethyl sulfone, and alpha bromoacrylamide, N-methyl-toluene, ethyl sulfoamide. Dyes comes under first generation of reactive dyes, and the trade name is given. So all these reactive dyes comes under monofunctional reactive dyes. That means it will have only one reaction between dye and fiber. So even though if the dye has two reactive sites, so one reactive sites only coupled with fabrics. For example, if you take dichlorotriazine and monochlorotriazine, in the case of dichlorotriazine will have two reactive sites, and monochlorotriazine will have only one reactive sites. In dichlorotriazine, even though it has two reactive sites, if one of the reactive sites is attached to cellulose, the other's reactivity is decreased due to the reaction of first group. So the other reaction is totally eliminated, even though it has in this first generation reactive dyes will have only one reaction between dye and fabrics. Second generation reactive dyes, bis monochlorotriazine and bis aminochlorotriazine, sulfatoethyl sulfone, and aminofluorotriazine, sulfatoethyl sulfone, and phosphonic acid. In second generation reactive dyes will have two reactive functions. That means there are two reactions between the dye and cellulose. So even one of the reactive sites are attached to cellulose, the other reaction is also possible with cellulose. In second generation reactive dyes, again it is classified into homo-bifunctional reactive dyes and hetero-bifunctional reactive dyes. So the second generation reactive dyes are called as bifunctional reactive dyes. Homo-bifunctional reactive dyes will have similar monofunctional reactive dyes. For example, homo-bifunctional reactive dyes will have two dichlorotriazine dyes, or two monochlorotriazine dyes, or two aminochlorotriazine dyes. It has similar reactive groups, but it has two reactive sites. In hetero-bifunctional reactive dyes, will have two different reactive groups. For example, one of the group may have a dichlorotriazine, and another one may have sulfatoethyl sulfone reactive dyes. Reactivity is improved. That means the exhaustion percentage is improved due to the two different reactive sites. And this is the trade name. Cibacron C is the hetero-bifunctional reactive dyes, mostly used in padding and printing functions. Even Sumifix also hetero-bifunctional reactive dyes. So this is the example of first generation reactive dyes. So monochlorotriazine, and this one is dichlorotriazine. So in monochlorotriazine will have only one reactive sites, one chlorine sites. So this is the reactive sites. So it has only one reactive sites, whereas dichlorotriazine will have two reactive sites. This one is one, and this one is second reactive group. Two reactive sites. So you can it has a very good reactivity. So no need to improve the reactivity by giving temperature. So you can dye at room temperature, whereas monochlorotriazine dyes will have only one reactive sites. So it needs some assistance to increase the reactivity. So normally temperature is given to increase the reactivity. So normally it is dyed at second generation reactive dyes. So this is the second generation reactive dies, Ramosal block B, homo bifunctional reactive. So it has two sulfoethyl sulfone groups. So it will increase the, but it has disadvantages of washing off problem. That means poor exhaustion and better exhaustion and poor washing off problems. And third generation reactive dies will have polyfunctional disulfide reactive dies. So it has more than two functional groups in the dies. So it will improve the exhaustion and reactivity of the reactive dies. So classification of reactive dies. So you can classify the reactive dies based on reactive groups, whether it is having halogen or vinyl sulfone, pyridine, or based on reactive groups you can classify the reactive dies. And you can classify the reactive dies based on the reactivity. That means low reactive dies or higher reactive dies. So based on that you can classify the reactivity reactive dies, and on the basis of dyeing temperature, whether it is dyed at room temperature or medium temperature or hot temperature. So based on that it is classified cold brand, medium brand and hot brand reactive dies. Dyeing mechanism of reactive dies. So there are three stages. So one is exhaustion of dye in the presence of electrolyte or dye absorption. So that is the first stage, and fixation under alkaline conditions, and wash of the unfixed reactive dyes. First you have to exhaust the direct dyes by using exhausting agent. Normally common salt is used for this purpose. And fixation, that means the initiate of covalent bond between the dye and cellulose. So that is by using alkali. So normally sodium carbonate is used for this purpose. And washing of that is unfixed dyes. So by using soap and soda ash we can remove the unfixed reactive dyes. Application method of reactive dyes. There are three methods: continuous method and discontinuous method, continuous method and semi-continuous method. Discontinuous method means conventional method of application. So batch process. In continuous method, pad steam process, pad rise method or pad thermofix method. And semi-continuous method, pad roll method, pad jig method and pad batch method. So these are the methods are used to apply the reactive dyes on cotton. And this is the standard method used for exhaust process. First you have to add the dyes. If it is room temperature, so you keep it. If it is cold brand reactive dyes, you do it at room temperature. After 10 minutes you add salt, then half of the salt, and then next 10 minutes you add the balance remaining salt, or you can divide the salt in three different batches. So after addition of salt you add soda ash. So after 15 minutes, so you divide into two batches. That means you divide the soda ash into of so that you can add two in two stages. So after addition of soda ash you keep it for 30 to 45 minutes at room temperature. Rinse the fabric with a cold wash. And this is the recipe for dye: 2 to 4% sodium chloride GPL. First stage, second stage at 7.5 GPL, and third stage at 25 GPL to 35 GPL. So again it depends on the application method. Soda ash 0.2 to 0.4 GPL and then 0.8 to 7.5 GPL. So dyeing process, you in continuous method, so pad the dyes, then dry, then pad the alkali. So here you have to add only the dye with water, and then the next stage you apply only alkali, then steam it and washing. So this is the one method to apply the reactive dyes. The next method is you pad the dyes and then dry the fabric, and you pad the alkali and keep it for 18 to 24 hours and then washing. So this is pad patch method. So normally the reactive dyes are applied in alkaline medium. Due to the reactivity of reactive dyes, it is attached to cellulosic fibers and coupled with covalent bond. The covalent bond is the very strong bond, and that increases the fastness properties of reactive dyes. But the dye can react either hydroxyl group present in the cellulose, or sometimes it may react with hydroxyl group present in So the hydroxyl group present in water, if the dye is reacted with water, so it is going to dead dyes, so that is hydrolyzed dye, so that is going to waste. So in normal case, the reactive dyes are very weak in exhaustion properties. So normally 60 to 70% of dyes only exhausted on fabric, and remaining 30% to 40% it is going to waste. And after time dyeing, sometimes you need to remove the dyes to correct the patchy dyeing. So there are different ways to remove the reactive dyes. One of the ways partial stripping, so by using soap and soda at a hot temperature. So that is the one method. And the second one is using glacial acetic acid 5 to 10 parts, and you can remove the partial reactive dyes. If you want to remove the reactive dyes fully, so either you can bleach the fabric with the sodium chlorine, because reactive dyes are very poor in chlorine fastness, so you can bleach the fabric, or you can treat the reactive dyed fabric with caustic anhydrous at boiling temperature. Any one method you can choose for removing the reactive dyes.